The Tigers land a top 100 prospect for the class of 2026. We'll tell you about him. Locked on LSU. Let's go.
You are Locked On LSU, your daily podcast on the LSU Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Okay, let's get it. It is Locked On LSU, your team every day. I'm your host, Matt Moscona. Thanks so much for making us your first listen. We're free, available wherever you get podcasts, of course, on YouTube as well. So please subscribe. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, because right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. The LSU women's basketball started their conference slate with a blowout win at Arkansas. We'll tell you about that. The defending national champion Gymnastics team gets underway Friday. A little preview of that come up in a smidge. But let us begin with the LSU football Tigers, fresh off a dominating win over Baylor to wrap up the 2024 season amid an elite transfer portal class, ranked the number one portal class in the country, but already looking ahead to 2026. And on Thursday, Brian Kelly, Kevin Peoples, Blake Baker and the squad landed another top flight commit, this time from defensive lineman JaReylan McCoy. Now, he's out of Tupelo, Mississippi. I'll give you a little bit of a thumbnail on McCoy and then tell you kind of how he fits into LSU. So the particulars: 6'7". Remember, this is a guy that is in his high school junior year, okay? He is at the halfway point of his high school junior season. And JaReylan McCoy is 6'7", 245 pounds. He was participating in the Under Armour All-America game on Thursday and committed to LSU during that live broadcast, citing a relationship with defensive ends coach Kevin Peoples. Quote, he played a great big part of it. He just gets you fired up, gets you ready for the next level. So McCoy, primary recruiter was Kevin Peoples. Secondary recruiter was Blake Baker. When we look at McCoy, he is, as I mentioned, 6'7", 245, had more than a dozen offers from just about everybody you can imagine, from Ole Miss and Alabama and Southern Cal and Oregon and Tennessee and A&M and Penn State, Auburn, South Carolina, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Minnesota, Mississippi State, partridge in a pear tree. I could go on and on and on and on and on. Ultimately picked LSU over a final list of LSU, Southern Cal, and Tennessee. Ultimately picked the Tigers. It's interesting because he was thought to be an Ole Miss lean. Again, from Tupelo, a four-star out of the state of Mississippi, who at one point said that Ole Miss was his leader, but ultimately lands with the LSU Tigers. Consensus four-star. On 3 ranks him as the 88th overall prospect in America and the 8th best defensive lineman in America. In the composite, which is the combination ranking of the 4 major services, On 3, 24/7, ESPN, and Rivals. In the composite, he's the number 124 overall prospect, the number 11 defensive lineman, and he is the consensus number 6 player in the state of Mississippi. So there's a lot of reasons this is significant. Obviously, you went and got a player up on the defensive line. So as we'll detail here in a smidge, a gigantic position of need for the next cycle. Again, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself because we're all looking so much forward to 2025. This is a 2026 prospect, but you're also talking about a guy who is going to be a major position of need. Again, we'll get to that here in just a second. But he was also from the state of Mississippi, and at one thought was thought to be an Ole Miss lean. So now you've gotten him away from Ole Miss, but Southern Cal and Tennessee were the other finalists, so you kept him away from Tennessee as well. So not only did you bolster your class, but you also got him out of the state of Mississippi and kept him away from another SEC team. McCoy becomes the 6th commitment for the class of 2026. So the Tigers already doing work for 26, the 4th ranked class in America already for 2026, the 2nd best class in the SEC. But what's really interesting about McCoy is he's the first prospect outside of Louisiana for 2026. The other commits you have, Richard Anderson from New Orleans, Aiden Hall, the safety from New Orleans, Kenny Darby, the wide receiver from Bossier City, Airline High, Ja'Kai Anderson, the wide receiver from New Orleans, Jalen Chapman, the interior offensive lineman from Warren Easton in New Orleans. You get a trend here. LSU has gone ham in New Orleans, getting the best players in the country for 2026. And it's so interesting to look at these prospects for 2026, because one of the things we've talked about for a good while now is that 2026 is a bumper crop in Louisiana. You've got to make sure that you keep the best players in the state home. Now, one of those guys, Jakeem Stewart, reclassified to 2025. He's now a Southern Cal signee. But Lamar Brown, offensive lineman from U High, the number 1 interior offensive lineman in the country for 2026, the number 11 overall prospect. He's uncommitted. Blaine Bradford from Catholic High in Baton Rouge, the number 15 overall prospect in the country, uncommitted. Richard Anderson, the number 34 overall prospect in the country, committed to LSU. Aiden Hall, the number 38 prospect in the country, committed to LSU. Bryson Martinez from East Ascension, offensive lineman, number 52 overall in the country, thought to be an LSU lean. Jabari Mack out of Destrehan, number 78 overall in the country. He's a wide receiver. Dylan Berryman, the number 232 prospect in the country, thought to be an LSU lean. We mentioned Kenny Darby, already committed to LSU. Let me restate, though, that point. Lamar Brown, Blaine Bradford, Richard Anderson, Aiden Hall, Bryson Martinez. Those 5 players, and the Jabari Mack, those 6 players, I'm not talking about top-tier players in Louisiana. Lamar Brown, 11 in the country. Blaine Bradford, 15 in the country. Richard Anderson, 34 in the country. Aiden Hall, 38 in the country. Bryson Martinez, 52 in the country. Jabari Mack, 78 in the country. That's 6 players from within an hour of LSU's campus. I mean, 5 of them are all in Greater Baton Rouge. Jabari Mack from Destrehan, well, forgive me, 4 of them. And then Richard Anderson in New Orleans, who's already committed, are from the New Orleans area. 4 of them are from the Baton Rouge area. The point being, go lock down Louisiana for 2026. And you just lock down Louisiana for 2026. And you will have the best class in the country. I mean, I just rattled off 6 names within an hour of LSU's campus that are all top 78 prospects in America. 2 of them in the top 15. Just recruit Louisiana in 2026, and you'll have the best class in America. But supplement with great players like this when we're talking about McCoy from Tupelo, Mississippi. And listen, if Blake Baker and Kevin Peoples want him, I'm all about going to get him. So how does a guy like McCoy fit in for LSU in 2026? We'll talk about that as we continue. Locked on LSU, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. If you love prop bets like I do, why not take advantage? Which player will score a touchdown? You want to bet on Joey B, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Brian Thomas Jr.? It's week 18 in the NFL. Here's your opportunity. How many points will each team score? Team totals are always a fun prop, and you can always have that fun with FanDuel. So visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. So LSU lands a big-time commitment from McCoy. So how does he fit into LSU for the class of 2026 and actually for the defensive line for 2026? JaReylan McCoy, again, a 6'7", a 245-pound edge. He's officially listed as a defensive lineman. So I guess there is one caveat that we could throw in there and say, does he keep putting up? Remember, he's at the midway point of his high school junior season. So, could there be a possibility where JaReylan McCoy gets bigger and becomes an interior player? Maybe, but recruited by Kevin Peoples, if you go look at his huddle highlights, which I did take a glance at him just to make sure, he is an edge player in high school. He's coming off the edge. And we're talking about that big of a player, very likely someone who could help you in run defense, but also rush the passer. The reason why I think a commitment like this is so significant is because, look, you got to get to the finish line. But look at LSU's defensive line in 2020. Just look at this progression. Play this game with me, if you will, from 24 to 25 to 26. So this year at defensive end, you had two veteran players. Savion Jones, who was a Louisiana guy from St. James, who stuck it out and became a really good player for you. Braden Swinson, who transferred in from Oregon, and over the last 2 years has developed into an elite edge rusher and probably a day 2 NFL draft pick. Those two were your primary guys coming off the edge this year. And after that, Gabe Relaford, who was a true freshman this year, gave you some good reps. And then some other guys like Dylan Carpenter, younger players. Well, you're losing Jones and Swinson. And understanding that you only had Relaford really with key experience coming back for next year, you had to go into the portal. And they did. Patrick Payton from Florida State, a guy with more than 16 sacks and more than 30 TFLs in his career. But he's got 1 year of eligibility left. Jack Pyburn from Florida, a guy that's been a 3-year contributor at Florida, been a very good run stuffer, had 60 tackles as an edge player this year, but hasn't really had the opportunity to rush the passer. Told us here that he was coming to LSU to go from being an effective, the way he put it, an effective pass rusher to an elite pass rusher. So Pyburn also has 1 year of eligibility left, so he'll be gone. Jamari Butler from Nebraska, a little bit of a down year this year, but 2 seasons ago in 2023, at double-digit TFLs and 7 sacks, had a great season. So that's also a guy, though, in his 6th year who will be out of eligibility after 2025. So you went and supplemented that room with Gabe Relaford, with 3, and Dylan Carpenter, with 3 veteran elite edge rushers, all with a different skill set. All 3, however, after 2025, who are going to be gone off to the NFL, they'll be out of eligibility. So when you look at 2026, Gabe Relaford will be back for his junior year, his 3rd year in Baton Rouge. Dylan Carpenter will be back for his 3rd year in Baton Rouge. Kalaj Cobbins, who redshirted as a freshman in 2024, will be a redshirt sophomore in his 3rd season in Baton Rouge. And then we can't forget about Damian Shanklin. Damian Shanklin's a member of this 2025 signing class, number 1 player of the state of Indiana, a big, long edge who was here for bowl practices, so got a jump start on things. And here's hoping that's a guy throughout 25 can play a supporting cast role in 26, might be ready to be an elite player. But all the guys I just mentioned right there, Relaford, Carpenter, Cobbins, Shanklin, all of those guys don't have a ton of experience and likely aren't going to be your key impact guys for 2025 because of the transfers I just mentioned. So when you get to 2026, and I know we're getting ahead of ourselves here, but when you get to 2026, if all these guys stay, Relaford, Carpenter, Cobbins, Shanklin, that's 4 who at the time they're ready in 2026 to be the guys would have only been rotational players in their careers. It's not to say they can't step up and be great, and I hope they will be. But you're going to go into the portal, but you also have to supplement numbers. And part of that is going to be in the high school recruiting class. So to get a guy like JaReylan McCoy is significant because you're talking about a top 100 overall prospect in the country at what will be in that class a real position of need. Richard Anderson is an interior defensive lineman. When you look at the rest of the commits already for 26, Aiden Hall's a safety, Kenny Darby's a receiver, Ja'Kai Anderson's a receiver, Jalen Chapman's an interior offensive lineman. So you got to make sure that in all the players I just mentioned from Louisiana, Lamar Brown, offensive lineman, Blaine Bradford, safety, Bryson Martinez, offensive lineman. You're talking about a bunch of elite players, but none of them are edge players. So getting in early and getting a commit like JaReylan McCoy already on board for 2026 is really significant for Brian Kelly, for Kevin Peoples, for Blake Baker in this defense. And it is worth throwing some bouquets to Kevin Peoples' way. Listen, when we talk about Kevin Peoples and the job that he did at Missouri, remember, Kevin Peoples is a is part of the Pete Jenkins tree. And when you look at his time at Missouri, the ability in developing players into high-level NFL draft picks. Darius Robinson was all SEC in 2023. Isaiah McGuire was all SEC in 2022. Both were among the top 5 in the SEC in sacks during their all-conference seasons at Missouri. So you're talking about a guy in Kevin Peoples who is specialized in recruiting edge rushers, developing them, and has done so in the SEC. And it's hard to ignore when we talked about Isaiah McGuire and excuse me, I lost my train of thought. We talk about the guys that he developed there with Darius Robinson and Isaiah McGuire. Those are guys at Missouri. And then this year, obviously, Braden Swinson had an all-conference caliber season at LSU and has increased to being very likely a day 2 pick in the NFL draft. And the same goes for Savion Jones. So the ability to recruit and develop at that position, Kevin Peoples has a lot of feathers in his cap already. So it's understandable why someone like McCoy would want to come to LSU to play for Kevin Peoples. So a great get for LSU at what will be a position of need for 2026 and getting an early jump start on what could very well end up being the number 1 class in the country if LSU is able to close on those top players in Louisiana for 2026. The top team in the country in gymnastics a season ago was LSU. The top team in the country in women's basketball 2 seasons ago was LSU. Both had important moments. The women's basketball team got conference play started off with a bang on Thursday, and the defending champion gymnastics squad opens up competition, I should say, on Friday. We'll give you a thumbnail preview next. Locked on LSU, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Rocket Money. Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions that you forgot about or you were paying for twice? That has happened to millions of people still paying for subscriptions. You didn't realize it. Rocket Money makes it so easy to track them down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. If here in 2025, part of your New Year's resolution is to get your financial house in order, let Rocket Money help. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions. It monitors your spending. It helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, even goals that you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. The LSU women's basketball team got conference play kicked off with a bang. LSU went up to Fayetteville and beat Arkansas 98-64, a 34-point road conference win for Kim Mulkey's squad as they open up conference play. Flau'jae and Anissa Morrow each had a double-double in the ball game, and LSU romped Arkansas. 23-14 after the first quarter, a 28-12 pasting in the second quarter, and LSU was off and running for the Tigers. Flaugier, 15-10. Morrow, 11-10. Gilbert added 16. Michaela Williams had 14 for the Tigers, who remained unbeaten. Actually, Arkansas transfer Jersey Wolfenbarger had 8 points, 5 boards against her old squad as well. The Tigers just continue to roll here in the early goings for Kim Mulkey. It's it's interesting. Back on December the 5th, LSU got a little bit of a scare against Stanford. They had to go to overtime, and they netted just a 6-point win. Since then, LSU has won their last 6 games by an average of 29.2 points. Since that close call, they've won their games by an average of 30 points. That's incredible. LSU forced 21 turnovers in this game, which led to 34 points. LSU outscored Arkansas 36-2 in fast break points. So LSU's ability to get the ball in transition, run, and convert was awesome. One of the things Kim Mulkey says often, as she sometimes is criticized for the weak non-conference schedule, is that she doesn't really care what people say. She's coached for a long time. She knows what she wants to achieve in the pre-conference. And also that doesn't really matter what happens in the pre-conference, because as long as she takes care of business in conference play, they'll get where they need to be. So if the pre-conference allows her to get a lot of different players playing time and try people in different roles and rack up wins, so be it. And it's hard to argue against someone who has already won 4 national titles, 3 at Baylor, 1 at LSU, and now has these Tigers 16-0 and ranked 6th in the country, and they are just dump trucking people. Up next, LSU hosts Auburn on Sunday at the Maravich Center. Meanwhile, Arkansas has to go on the road at number 5, Texas. So tough start to the season for the Razorbacks, but for LSU, for Kim Mulkey and the squad, a 34-point romp to open up conference play. Meanwhile, the defending champion LSU Gymnastics squad will return to action on Friday, January 3rd at the Maravich Center. They'll unveil the banner, and the defending champs will be back at it. They'll take on number 32, Iowa State. LSU ranks 2nd in the country in the preseason rankings, behind only Iowa, who continues to be, behind only Oklahoma, looking at Iowa State, who's the opponent on Friday night. Oklahoma, who is just the premier college gymnastics program. But LSU now, for 13 consecutive years, has opened the season in the preseason top 10. Jay Clark has this program running at an absolutely elite level, the highest ever, honestly, and obviously winning the program's first national championship. But what maybe is most interesting about this team in particular is, coming off the national championship, you had a handful of gymnasts who still had an opportunity to utilize their super senior year, their COVID year, and elected to do so. Haley Bryant, who was the all-around national champion a year ago, is back for her 5th and final season. Sierra Ballard, who was such an anchor for LSU on the beam. Chase Brock, who was a key contributor a year ago. Alana Shenikova, who missed last season due to injury, is also back. She's fantastic on the uneven bar. She was an All-American 2 years ago in the uneven bars. And then Olivia Dunn, also back for her 5th season at LSU. On top of that, you have amazing key contributors returning as well, like Amari Clayton, Connor McClain. You're talking about KJ Johnson, who was so key for LSU a year ago on floor and on uneven bars. Aaliyah Finnegan landed the beam routine that won the national championship. Some amazing contributors from a year ago. You know, Finnegan was the floor champion a year ago. KJ Johnson competed every meet on vault last year, and every meet but one on floor when she was injured. Actually, she was replaced in that meet by Olivia Dunn. Cowan was the SEC bars champion a year ago. So you're talking about returning a tremendous amount of experience from the national championship team, including the greatest gymnast in the history of the program and one of the greatest collegiate gymnasts ever in Haley Bryant. And then you're also adding the number one recruiting class in the country, headlined by Zoe Miller and Victoria Roberts, Lexi Zeiss, Kalia Lincoln, and Kaylin Chow. You're talking about a program that has every opportunity to repeat. Again, with gymnastics, it's so much about are you capable of achieving the score necessary to win a national championship? And this team is. It's about putting yourself in position to be there, to compete your best on that given day to win the national championship. LSU did it a year ago. This team is certainly capable of doing it again. And that path starts on Friday at the Maravich Center against Iowa State. I'll tell you how it goes right here on Locked on LSU. Hey, thanks so much for making us your first listen. Now for your second listen, how about you check out our guy Chris Gordy over at Locked on SEC. If you are listening on your favorite podcast app, thank you so much. Please subscribe, rate us, leave a review. If you're on YouTube, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you're notified whenever we post a new video, and let a friend know if they love the Tigers. We got you here every single day for Locked on LSU, your team every day.